Welcome back to another video, you guys. I have a special guest with me, little Ezra. So I'm sorry if there's any interruptions during this video, but in this video I'm going to be talking about our home buying experience, things that we would have done differently. We're going to be giving you guys all the details about how much our mortgage is, how much our rate is, what we put down, closing costs, all the details. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned for the video. Alright guys, I'm going to start off by giving you guys our story, and then afterwards I will tell you the things I would have done differently. I reached out to my realtor, we started looking at homes. A month goes by and she calls me, she says, I have an awesome floor plan for you, great price, great location, and I saw the house and I loved it. With new builds, you have a 48-hour window to review the contract that they email you and sign it and send over your earnest deposit. Earnest deposits with new builds are generally pretty high. Ours was $10,000, which was incredibly high for an earnest deposit. An earnest deposit is just a deposit you make to show the seller that you're a serious buyer. If for some reason you back out of the contract, they will keep your earnest deposit for taking the house off the market. That part was very stressful for us because 24 to 48 hours is not a long time to look over those contracts when they're hundreds of pages and you absolutely have no idea what is on those pages, like what it actually means. So that was a very stressful process. Anyway, we sent over the contract, the earnest, and then it was just after that getting pre-qualified. You would get your earnest deposit back if for some reason you didn't qualify for the loan for the house. Right off the bat, things that we would have done differently. We would have looked into the builder company and looked at the reviews and their previous projects done, their work, the quality of the work. We would have looked more into the neighborhood, downloaded Nextdoor, Citizen, the Ring app, asked your neighbors, looked more into the neighborhood watch group, stuff like that. We didn't do any of that because we just loved the house. Then we felt rushed to sign the contract, and then boom, we're already in contract. It was a little bit scary because Lennar had the worst reviews. I guess they had a scandal in the early 2000s where they were botching new homes. I had commented in this video, a Phoenix realtor talking about new build incentives, and somebody replied to my comment saying, be careful with the neighborhood because they saw on Nextdoor that there was a bunch of drug and alcohol and behavioral health rehab homes that were licensed and unlicensed. It's like a huge Medicare fraud thing. They kidnap these people, these addicts, and they bring them to these homes, sign them up for Medicare benefits, and then just pretty much siphon all the money that they can out of their health benefits. And take all that with a grain of salt, because I think if I would have seen the reviews and then I would have known what was happening in the neighborhood beforehand, I would have gone running. Taylor, my realtor, our sales rep, they all told me that it would be fine, which it was. Lennar was overcompensating for their scandal in the early 2000s, that their homes are actually perfect, beautiful, great quality. I had a few people from the neighborhood, when I wrote in the neighborhood watch group that I was afraid to move there, I had a few people message me and say they've never had any issues, that some people were just being super dramatic and just hyper focusing on things that really didn't matter. I literally had nothing to worry about. I have never seen anything sketchy go on in this neighborhood. So I'm glad I didn't go running. So be careful, like I said, take that with a grain of salt. Don't just completely wave off the builder and the location. Before you go into contract, ask about the house behind you, because when we saw the lot, it was just a lot of land. It was all empty. And I was like, oh, the view is beautiful. I'll wake up to this. No, when they started building the houses behind us, the terror that I went through, because I was so petrified that we were going to have a two-story right behind us. And the reason you don't want that is because you have your house, the two-story. They can see everything into your yard. I wish I would have asked the two stories near me, what type of house my neighbors will be, the houses behind us. We got very lucky, but definitely ask those questions. We also have some utility boxes in our front yard that I think are connected to the internet or the water or something. So if something does go wrong, we do have men out there. It's just a utility box, it's not the end of the world. If you still don't feel ready to send over that earnest in that 48 hours, then ask for an extension. Don't feel rushed. There's so many homes being built in that neighborhood. Unless it is the very last home, which I doubt it is, then don't feel rushed. because it just takes away from the process or like the joy in the journey if you feel rushed.
Really quickly, Editor America here. I forgot to mention that if you do feel ready to go through with the purchase of your home, make sure you put in an offer on the home for under if the market allows. I did not know that we were able to put in offers on new builds, so I just signed for what it was listed for, but definitely put in an offer for under if you're able. It could end up saving you a lot of money.
Okay, after you get pre-qualified, you have your home, then it comes into locking in your rate. You play the lock in your rate game. You could lock it in right away. You can wait a little bit. Whenever you lock in your rate, you have 30 days before closing to re-lock in the rate to what the interest rate is at the time. That one, there's really no right answer. You just have to be patient, see what you're comfortable with, trust your lender, see where the market is at the time. So now you have your home. You can either go to the design studio, but unfortunately for us, we had already purchased the home too late, even though it was still like dirt. They had already ordered all the stuff for the homes, which also comes with its own issues. I mean, with the used home, you buy it as is, but with a new home, you get to pick out everything. And one issue we ran in with that was the paint in the kitchen, or like in a part of the kitchen, is matte. So when you wipe it, it just like takes off a layer of the paint versus it being like sheer, you could easily wipe it off. Try to make it to the design studio if you can. If you like a house with a floor plan, but it has a later date and you're able to extend it, maybe choose that house so you're able to experience the design studio. Our home was $388,000 when we first signed our contract. The market was going from a seller's market to a buyer's market, and the prices of the home were going down. So what the builder did was they decreased the price of the house from $388,000 to $380,000 in order to adjust with the market, just so the home would appraise and it didn't appraise like under or whatever. That ended up decreasing our mortgage by a good chunk, luckily, and I did not know that they could do that. So if you are gonna wait like 8 months to your home to be built, have faith that your builder will decrease the price of the home. They just don't want a bunch of people pulling out of contract. We ended up locking in our rate at 5.75, which is with the rate buy down. So our incentives was $20,000 towards closing, and whatever we didn't use in closing, they used to buy down the interest. So they calculated our closing costs, saw what we had left over, and then used that to buy down points on the interest rate, which ends up saving you hundreds and thousands of dollars in the future.
Editor America here. I forgot to mention a pretty important detail, but ask your realtor and your sales rep what incentives that builder or that specific home has. The incentives are pretty unbeatable. I did shop around for my loan with different mortgage companies, and they all told me to go with the mortgage company that the builder used because no one else was going to be those incentives.
So total, we had to come up with $14,000 for the down payment, and that included the $10,000 we sent in the initial earnest. So we had to come up with those extra $4,000. So really, the only thing we needed to buy the house was $14,000, which in this world is like insane. We did an FHA loan because the rates on FHA loans were actually lower than conventional at the time. Yes, it does come with private mortgage insurance, which is a lot, but you're able to refinance out of FHA into conventional and they take off the PMI. So we're looking forward to that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We of course needed our help from our parents. I feel like millennials nowadays of course are gonna need help from their parents unless you've been saving like diligently for a while, which we weren't. We started saving when we went into contract in like September to April when we closed on the house, and we were able to save about $10,000 in that period. So it is possible. Stop eating out, meal prep at home. Don't go to all these vacations and do all these things. Like do a side hustle, go lift or drive for groceries or do something. Like you guys can save. Of course, we got help from my mom. She lent us 10 grand for the earnest. You just start saving gradually and investing it with compound interest. You can pay your parents back pretty quickly, or put it in a high yield savings account or something. $14,000 to buy a house is pretty good. I asked Taylor what he wishes we would have done differently, and he said he wishes our lender would have looked into more programs. He says that there was like healthcare worker programs at the time that he wishes that we would have known about. So I mean, I did work in healthcare, so could have gotten into something like that. He also says that he wished we would have shopped around for third-party services. There are certain things that you can and cannot shop around for. I think like the title company or certain things on the closing that you can shop around for. Obviously, we got our own private inspector because we were terrified. My brother kept sending me all these videos of new builds being built like quick and terrible. So we did get our own private inspector, which was $350. And you really just do it for a peace of mind because the city comes in before the drywall goes up, when the foundation is done. They have to make sure everything is up to code before they continue. So there's already inspectors coming in throughout the build, and then the builder has its own inspector. You can do that, you cannot. We got one just for the peace of mind, and you know, if they do find something, of course it's worth it. He found a few things, but nothing major, and we would do it again for sure. Get a private inspector. What we would do too is try to get an inspector before the drywall goes up, because yeah, I do trust the city and I do trust the inspectors, but I would rather get my own private inspector to get another set of eyes on it before the drywall went up, just again for that peace of mind. So shop around for third-party services, look into programs, and get your own private inspector. Prep for the signing of the papers. When I tell you I signed thousands and thousands of papers, and they ask you for documents, W-2s, work statements, letters from this, everyone has to sign. Like, it was so unbelievably stressful, you guys. For 8 or 9 months, I had to deal with stuff like that. Like, I swear, every time I'd get an email asking for certain documents, or asking to sign this, or there was a change in my loan estimate, then I had to re-sign and re-look. And for somebody who doesn't understand that, first-time homebuyer, my Ella wasn't the best. I was literally looking at loan estimates on YouTube, going line per line per line, so I knew exactly what the hell everything was and what I was signing, and I understood what the cost was. It is a very stressful process. I was trying to dig out every chance that I got. I was like, I will be a renter forever. I don't care. This sucks. I like to know exactly what the hell everything is in detail. If you don't know, there's videos on YouTube that will go line per line per line, every single document that you have to think of and everything that you have to sign. So taxes. So initially they charge you taxes on the lot, just the land, but obviously when they put a house on it, then it changes the value of the property. So next year, whenever you have to pay taxes, it's going to be 10 times more, the taxes, because it's not a lot of land anymore. So make sure your loan officer is overcompensating how much they put in escrow, so you don't have to come up with thousands of dollars next year. Instead, you're getting money back. They explained that to me. There's a few videos on YouTube about that, and then also double check that that option is checked whenever you're signing your papers. So $14,000 is what we had to come up down payment since our closing costs were covered. We had to pay for an inspector, we had to pay for movers, and we had to pay to break our lease, which ended up being an additional $5,000, $4,000 to break our lease, and then $350 for the inspectors, and movers I think were like, I don't remember the exact cost, like $500, depending on how many hours you get, which you should get more than 4 hours. Even with a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, it takes a long time to move, so make sure you get them at least over 4 hours. So $19,000 total. Breaking our lease, it could be cheaper if you don't have a lease to break. If you move everything yourself and you don't get the private inspector, it'll only be $14,000. I'll put a summary down below of the things we wish we would have done differently. I hope this video was of help to you guys. I just wanted to be fully transparent on like our story and how we bought a house, because I have so many people that are like, how did you do it? The market is crazy, the prices are high, like how much money did you need? I kept getting all these questions, so I just thought I'd make a video just so if you want to buy a house in the future, you know about what it costs. I recommend going new build because you have warranty on the fridge, the stove, the carpet, the windows, the AC. If anything breaks, you have warranty on the house. You get another inspector 30 days after you move in to fix whatever, and then another one after a year after the house has been in all 4 seasons and it settles, and then if there's repairs, you know, they'll come in and fix it. You don't have to worry about coming up with anything out of pocket if something breaks on your home, because it is under warranty. And the incentives are amazing, so I 10 out of 10 recommend you go new build. If you have any other questions, please feel free to message me, you guys. I will answer whatever I can. Give me a like down below and subscribe. I love making content for you guys, and I love when you guys support me. So hit that subscribe button, and yeah, love you guys. Bye.